The sun dipped low behind the hills as Sergeant Daniel Miller stepped off the dusty military transport bus, his duffel bag hanging heavy on his shoulder. 2 years of deployment had left lines on his face, a stiffness in his movements, and a hunger for something simply home. The scent of fresh-cut grass, damp soil, and the faint sweetness of wildflowers clung to the summer air. He drew it in deeply, closing his eyes for a moment. This was the air he dreamed of in the sleepless nights overseas. This was home. He imagined the moment 100 times. Emily, his little girl, running from the porch, pigtails flying, her laughter cutting through the silence as she leapt into his arms. He'd spin her around, maybe even cry a little. But as the farmhouse came into view, the porch was empty. The old swing swayed lightly, creaking in the evening breeze. Daniel's steps slowed. Something felt off. He pushed open the screen door, and the creak echoed through the stillness. Inside, his mother stood in the kitchen, hands wiping over a dish towel. She froze when she saw him. "You're home," she said, voice quiet, as if afraid that speaking louder might shatter something fragile. Daniel glanced around. "Where's Emily?" he asked, a flicker of worry already igniting. His mother hesitated, her gaze dropping to the floor. "She has a broken bar outside, maybe in the barn." The pause between her words struck him harder than anything. Daniel dropped his duffel by the door and strode out toward the barn, his heart pounding harder with each step. The barn's air was thick with the smell of hay, dust, and the faint, earthy tang of animals. His boots crunched over loose straw as he passed the stalls, scanning for any sign of her. Then he heard Ina's soft, rhythmic breathing, mingled with the low grunts of pigs. He pushed open the small wooden door leading to the old pigsty, and what he saw stopped him cold. Emily was there, curled up on a bed of straw, wrapped in a thin, ragged blanket. Her hair hung long and tangled, partially hiding her smudged face. Her frame looked smaller, thinner, as if the months had chipped away at her. A tiny piglet nestled beside her for warmth, and she rested one arm over it protectively. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He'd seen ruined villages, children in war zones, people with nothing, but he never thought he'd see his own daughter like this. He moved closer, kneeling beside her. She stirred, her eyelids fluttering open. For a moment, her gaze was distant, unsure, until it locked onto him. Her lips parted, and in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Daddy." The sound nearly undid him. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly, feeling the fragility of her small frame. "Why are you here, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice breaking. She hesitated, then spoke with a kind of wary acceptance no child should have. "It's warmer here than in my room, a broken bar, and the pigs don't yell at me." Her words pierced through him deeper than any bullet ever could. Daniel rose with Emily still in his arms, her head resting on his shoulder as if it was the only safe place left in the world. Outside, his mother stood with wrung hands, eyes avoiding his. "What happened while I was gone?" he asked, his voice low but tight with restrained fury. She opened her mouth, but before she could answer, Anna appeared from around the corner of the house. His wife Ia, or at least the woman who had been his wife before distance and time had hollowed out their marriage. Ia looked at Emily without warmth, her gaze sharp, her posture stiff. "You're back," she said, as if announcing a fact rather than welcoming him. "Things have been a broken bar difficult." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Difficult?" "She's sleeping in a pigsty." "Anna, what's wrong with you?" Anna crossed her arms, her tone clipped. "She doesn't listen, she talks back. She refuses to do her chores. She needs to learn consequences." "Consequences?" His voice rose, a low growl beneath it. "She's 8 years old. She needs to feel safe. She needs to feel loved." Emily clung tighter to his shirt, her small fingers gripping as if afraid he might set her down. "If you think you can do better," Anna said, her eyes cold, "then she's all yours." It wasn't said in anger, not even frustration. It was said like she'd already decided Emily wasn't her problem anymore. That simple truth broke something in him. They didn't stay for dinner. Daniel packed Emily's meager belongings into a small duffel, a worn stuffed rabbit with one ear barely hanging on, a few clothes that no longer fit properly, and a pair of shoes with the soles beginning to peel away. Emily didn't ask where they were going, didn't ask about her mother, didn't ask about anything. She just stayed close, always within arm's reach. When the sun began to sink fully behind the hills, Daniel loaded the car. His mother stood silently on the porch, watching. He met her gaze for only a moment before turning away. The road stretched ahead, quiet and empty, the headlights cutting a soft glow through the dusk. "We'll be in town soon," he told Emily, keeping his voice gentle. "There's a little house there we can stay in for a while. It's not big, but it's ours. You'll have your own bed, warm meals, and no one's going to yell at you." She stared out the window, her breath fogging the glass slightly, and though she didn't say anything, he saw her lips curve into the faintest hint of a smile. As the miles slipped by, Daniel began telling her about planting flowers in the yard come spring, maybe even getting a dog. Her eyelids grew heavier, and soon she was dozing off, the road's hum lulling her into a peace she hadn't known for a long time. By the time they pulled up to the small wide rental house in town, dawn's first light was brushing the horizon. Daniel carried her inside, careful not to wake her fully. The living room smelled faintly of dust and old wood, but it was warm. He laid her on the couch, tucking a blanket around her. Emily blinked up at him, confusion in her eyes, as though she was waiting for someone to tell her she didn't belong there. Instead, he smoothed her hair back and kissed her forehead. "You're safe now," he whispered. She nodded faintly, then let her eyes close. For the first time in years, Emily drifted to sleep without the smell of hay in her nose, without the cold biting through a thin blanket, without the dread of waking to someone's anger. Daniel sat beside her, the quiet of the house wrapping around them like a promise. Outside, the town slowly came to life, but inside, the only sound was the soft, even breathing of his daughter. He didn't know exactly what the future would hold, but one thing was certain: no matter how hard it got, Emily would never again wonder if she was loved, and she would never again sleep in a barn.